The one thing that you don't want this adhesive to do is to roll over on itself. It can be very hard to kind of peel back off of itself. It doesn't really have the ability to do that. So when you apply this, you want to make sure that you take your time, make sure that it's not sticking to itself, and just be very careful. Start down here at the bottom in the corner and kind of work our way back up. We're getting pretty close to being done applying this, just a little tiny bit down here at the bottom and we'll be finished. If we can get this backing to peel off. Make sure you follow the ridges on this so it lays down nice and flat. One little long piece here that goes down the bottom. Peel the backing off of it here real fast. You can go ahead and peel the backing off all of the adhesive that we just put on. Be careful when you're pulling it up that it doesn't roll back over or create a ridge within the adhesive. We don't want the glass to be pulled off or stand off of the frame in any way. Next step is that we have our piece of glass replacement here. We have this little camera piece. We're going to put that back in place up here at the top. We can peel the cable off the front of the glass here, just removing these two little pieces of masking tape. Put our home button back in. We want to make sure that it's nice and straight in the socket. May have to put a pry tool or something underneath it to make sure you get the correct adhesive. This button stands off a little bit. We're going to take the glass and we're going to lay it just kind of next to the frame. Got our little piece of adhesive tape here. The next step is to go ahead and insert the cable back into the slot. You'll see that there's two white stripes on this cable, one on each connector that slides in. You want to make sure you get that pushed in as far as possible to make sure you get touch function on the device. Go ahead and push down the connector slot here and push the cable back into its slot. See that the home button won't reach just yet, so we're going to take the home screen and pull it up just a little bit here. Tuck the cable back in. See, it's still a little bit short of fitting in. We're going to go ahead and connect our LCD back into the device. Pull back this little piece of tape here. Take our ribbon connector, and you can see the white line on this one for sure. You want to make sure you get that as close to being pushed all the way in as possible. The white line almost disappears in the connector. You can barely see it sticking out. Once that happens, you go ahead and push it in, and it will go ahead and close. Now you want to be careful when you're flipping these up or putting them down. They're pretty easy to damage. So just take your time when you're doing it. Now normally with a battery change or an LCD replacement, I would go ahead and test my display right here. We just go ahead and power it on. I'm confident this is going to function properly for us. We're not going to stress it at this point, but if this is your first time, I would double check and make sure that everything's going to function properly for you. We need to remove a little bit of adhesive here on the side underneath the display to get the screw slot to fit back into its correct position. So a little pair of scissors to cut out the holes for the screw. Cut out this side as well. Now we can go ahead and insert the display back into the device. Just going to double check the ribbon cable to the digitizer here. It's not sitting in correctly, so we're just going to push it in a little bit. Lay it as close to the display as possible. The ribbon cable for the digitizer LCD, or the digitizer in the glass, it kind of pops in underneath. And then you can put your display in. You want to make sure that you get it as far in as possible, so when you go and you lay the glass down, the cable doesn't ripple underneath the glass and start to pull it off. We've got it in its place. If we let the glass down, it will actually pull it back. So we're just going to leave it where it is for just a few seconds here. Input the screws into each of the corners of the display. Two bottom done. We're going to go ahead and do the two top. We're going to put our screwdriver under this. We don't want a lot of strain on the display. We don't want anything to be bent or broken. Peel the backing off of our home button here real fast. You want to be a little bit careful when you're pulling the backing off. Like I was saying before, you don't want to get any of the tape to bubble or ripple. You want to sit nice and flat against the glass, so when you press the home button, everything functions properly and it stays adhered to the back side of the glass. With both of those removed, we're just going to go ahead and lift the glass. We want to get this as centered as possible. The goal is to get the middle of the home button to press on the middle of the actual ribbon button. I'm just testing it here real quick to make sure that it functions properly, which it does. Now if you wanted to, you could fire the iPad up right here and test the functionality, make sure the glass is working, make sure the LCD is working, make sure the home button is working. I would suggest doing all of these things. I've done this a few times, so I'm not too concerned about it not functioning properly for me. I'm just going to pull this suction cup here to lift the glass. It's not working out very well for me. Just going to try to clean it a little bit more, make sure there's no additional dust on here, make sure that everything's sitting properly into the middle of the frame. I did have to stop my video for a second. I had somebody show up, so you'll see the video edit here in just a second. So same process, we have our home button installed, we have our glass assembly here fully complete. Make sure it's nice and clean. Just want to make sure there's no dust anywhere on this. You don't want to have to reopen it if you spent all this time putting it back together. Making sure that the metal bracket at the top of the camera is properly installed. Make sure there's no tape that's overlapping, which is what I'm doing just right here. Using a little blower, hand blower here just to clean off some small particles of dust. There's no fingerprints on it. Alright, now the next step is we're going to go ahead and fold this in. You want to make sure that the ribbon cable for the glass is pushed down into place on the bottom left-hand corner here. You want to make sure you get all the corners in first. I find that to be the most successful way to do it. So push the corners of the glass into each corner. Make sure that those are all lining up properly. I just realized that I totally forgot to take off the back side of the protective cover on this glass here, so we're going to go ahead and remove that here real fast. Just peel that off. Now we'll go ahead and make sure that all the four corners are back in place, that they're lining up properly. Once you've done that, you can go ahead and just press down on all the sides of everything. And really that's all you have to it. The next step is to go ahead and fire it up and make sure it's going to function properly for you. Like I was saying, I would suggest testing it before you adhere the glass properly to the mid-frame. But if you found the video helpful, go ahead and hit the like button. If you have any questions or things to talk about, go ahead and throw them down in the comments. I'd be more than happy to try to respond and answer anything if I can be helpful. As always, I appreciate you watching the video. If you want to see more videos on more devices, go ahead and subscribe, and I'll throw a couple up each week. Thanks for watching, and I will see you on the next video.